Okay, I shall take you into the forest. I started out like everybody with this idea that the will was this atomic thing, right? It was an atomic thing. My finger was bleeding. I had been hurt. It was me. But for some reason, I got onto the idea of atomism when I was young, and the issue is, and ancient philosophers with little evidence took sides on this issue, whether or not you could break things down forever. And I kind of felt my way through that. That I pretty much figure things can break down forever, and I grasped what I would later be. Well, was I taught it? I don't know. It was later confirmed as I was educated about philosophical atomism that atomism is really about ideas being broken down, right? You might actually even get to the smallest bit of matter, physical matter that you'd want to call mass, but it breaks down into energy. You might have the quanta of smallest energy, and it breaks down to concepts like phase and wavelength. So I had a clue that maybe the self wasn't atomic. And then we learned all sorts of stuff about the brain as I was growing up, and we had already known. I learned things that people had already known about brain waves and just how the brain works. And I had taken it for granted all along that it was physical, that the mind was a phenomena of the brain. So yeah, I saw that that was an illusion, and we agree. I agree with the unfree will crowd that there was an illusion there. But to say that that the will is determined, it's like, hey, that's not part of the illusion. Well, we know it's just that we're disillusioned now, and so forget it. Oh, look at the whole thing. It's like, well, that's overreacting a bit. I looked at it and I said, well, look, the part of the mind that thinks, hey, I'm the whole thing, it doesn't know where the dreams come from. There's all these things that are in the mind, obviously, it doesn't know. It's obviously not the skin and the bones and stuff. It's a bunch of neurons and not even located in the brain, but a program, right? Like a program running on your computer can use the whole computer, stored in a particular place. It uses a part of the computer. It's the configuration, program's a configuration for the mind. So your mind has a configuration, which is this conscious part that thinks I'm the whole thing. And so I thought of it that way. Okay, so if in that case, I'm actually a little virtual creature in a virtual reality in my brain. And the things around me are virtual reality things, again, in my brain, reconstructed from the senses or whatever, you know, the theories remain to be uh, elaborated upon. And so, do I feel that way? Do I feel kind of like, and I can't see this other part, so I'm like in a dark area, and do I feel that way? I mean, the things that I'm thinking about right now are very well lit. So I am the light in this mind, and there's light around me, and wherever I go, it gets lit up. But out there, somehow, it's dark. Do I feel like I'm in this dark, unlit place, and I'm blind? How does that jibe with the vividness? And I felt it it jibes really well. I mean, uh, it, being in this mind of mine is like being in a cave system or uh, a dark world, and you can only see so far down there. But you're carrying lights, and if you just go over there, you can see it. And I found that much of the unconscious mind that is human-like, get to the animal unconscious, is uh, is perceptible, is makeable into consciousness. We can make it conscious. I made a video like about how I'm not doing Rubik's Cube for years, and it's sort of, I still have the ability to do it. It's in my muscle memory, and I can recall that. But it's like wandering through the mind, the unconscious, and getting to something. Then you make it conscious, and then when I'm not doing the cube, like right now, I'm still not conscious. Like, how do you do it? Well, I'm starting because I brought it up. But what I remember once I rediscover that is a quick path there. So it's like, instead of wandering around in the dark, wait, was it over here? I remember, oh, here it is, and maybe I even put up signpost ways to remember there. Because, for example, I mean, and this metaphor goes all the way to something real. I mean, when I'm doing the thing, there's certain mistakes I'll tend to make. I put a signpost right there. What do you mean a signpost? I visualize, oh yeah, this is confusing. I can remember it if I just remember to put this side this way. Boom. Always remember to hold it this way or whatever. Some little rule of thumb that helps me improve that part. And to me, that's like making a path to the conscious solution, to visualizing the brain, and visualizing is to access that brain configuration that knows how to do the Rubik's Cube. And I admit that this is not how other people experience the will. But I didn't used to either. But I just looked, I said, look, if I find out how the brain really works, then I should be able to draw metaphors from that and apply them. Now, I understand things switcheroo all the time, you know, like, for example, I know how to program computers. They switcheroo, yeah, they do. I know how to program computers. Well, that's different than designing circuitry, right? But there are metaphors in designing circuitry. All the metaphors of designing circuitry do apply. Logic gates and all of this stuff does apply. Now, when you're actually thinking about it, it's very different. You know, the one is confusing for the other. Because one, you've got, you know, electricity coursing through these switches and stuff, and the other one, you have code that's interpreted, that's a configuration for a switching machine like that. But the metaphors do progress. And, you know, some things will map and some things won't. Like this issue of if I'm not really my whole self, this conscious mind is just material, then it's a program in the mind that's saying, I believe I'm everything. I'll take responsibility. Buck stops here. Then that's going to map not directly, like I'm not going to feel it in the same way if I could feel both things, but it's going to map in the sense that I could deduce, well, then I should be then that means I'm like a virtual. I'm just a part of myself. Then I don't go out to the edge of the eyeballs. I'm a little idea in this virtual world. And my connection to the body is already less direct than I thought, and I don't have total control. And at that point, the conscious mind has to become a negotiator. It goes around, finds, makes conscious, unconscious things, and so on and so forth. Tries to create visualizations and, you know, gather consensus. Sort of an organizer. And that's how I experience it, you know. And I believe these other wills and desires that you have to negotiate with, like lusts and loves and attractions and hungers and appetites and pleasures and all of these things, that, you know, that those are parts of the will too. And sometimes when I go interact with them, you know, I don't visualize it as a person, but it's much like a personality, you know. It's me when I'm in the mood of that, and then sometimes I'm in the mood of more rational, and sometimes in another appetite's mood, and they're all remembering, wait, what did I say when I was in that other mood? And so there's this communication, you know. And that's describing it sequential, but as I said, I always also try to collect an opinion after I've experienced the more pure version of, well, I think this, but wait, on second thought, I think this. And, you know, after I've gotten through a bunch of them, then I also have an opinion. I try to create a configuration that takes all of the strong points and all the weak points and make a whole and see how that works too. I I find that um, that this all works perfectly well. I can accept all of these implications of the material mind, and I feel that way. You could say, well, you're fooling yourself. But what do you mean? You're fooling yourself about the self. You figured that out. How am I fooling myself? The way I'm fooling myself is more like it really seems. You're just going to go, I'm going to stop fooling myself by believing nothing. I'll still live like it is there, but I have no choice. Well, I have a choice. I'm narrowing mine in on whatever the real phenomena is. I think that has something going for it. Cheers.